Thank you, Dustin, and thank you, Shaukat, for inviting me. I very much appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to know Bishkek and Kyrgyzstan. I also would like to take a moment and thank our two ladies, kind ladies in the back who are doing the translation. You are doing a magnificent job, and I can't thank you enough. It's not easy to translate technical material. Great job. All right, so I am from the University of Virginia. This is a picture of the center of our university, which was founded a little more than 200 years ago by our third president and author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson. It's a different sort of university in its time because it was founded, if you will, on information technology. This is the library. The center of the university was the library. Not a religious institution, it was the library that was the foundation. So it was pointing to the fact that we are all about information and about using that information and learning and understanding. Okay. I'll start out by saying what we've been saying for a couple days now. Data is growing, it's going to continue to grow. Right now we have almost 40 zettabytes. A zettabyte, if you can imagine, if at the origins of Homo sapiens, our species, we'd had the ability to take videos, and we'd videoed from there until today, all those videos would constitute about a zettabyte, okay? And we have about 40 of those now. So that's a massive amount of information that we have today. The problem is that of that 40 zettabytes, of all that information that we collect, less than 0.5% of it is actually analyzed, and less than 0.5% of that is actually usefully used. The picture that I have here happens to be a Lorraine clustering of tweets from Istanbul. These are only the tweets, the Twitter information for people who are speaking English or using English tweets. And it's only a day, and it's only looking at what you can find. But even this, social scientists, we were able to show that there are little communities that are forming among those tweets. And that's the kind of thing you can find. But again, a tiny fraction of this data is actually getting used. The other challenge that we have today is that we have more and more types of data. Sure, we've got all that legacy data that we've collected everywhere from all different sources, but even more than that, we have text now that we're managing, and all sorts of textual information is coming forward. We have videos, and of course we have lots of videos of cats, or I'm sorry, pictures of cats. This happens to be my daughter's cat. And we have videos. We've got information that the type of information we've never seen before. Okay, how do we meet the challenge of providing an analysis against all these data that are coming in? Well, the good news is that we have more computational capability than we've ever had. We have quadrillions of floating point operations per second now, just a massive amount. Moore's law continues to be in force, and we continue to see computational capabilities expanding as never before. The other thing that doesn't get as much press is the analytics capabilities. We now have analytical capabilities that can give us results that we've never seen, and these are real honest-to-goodness results. Whether we're getting them out of things like deep learning or out of variational methods, we're producing incredible results. So we have a lot going for us right now. Okay. Nonetheless, we're faced with a lot of very complex challenges. As a data scientist, I will argue that it's going to take data science, which is bringing together people from lots of different disciplines to solve these kind of problems. This is what we say is a team sport. And when we created the School of Data Science at the University of Virginia, we made sure it was not a school like a traditional school. It reached across all disciplines. We bring everybody from every discipline. Today, I could talk to you about work that we're doing in education, like Madam Vice Prime Minister talked about. We could also talk about government, work that we're doing in digital government. But I'm going to talk to you instead about healthcare, which is an important area that we're working on, because I think it illustrates the kinds of things that we can do in this current era. And I think it might resonate with something that you want to do here in Kyrgyzstan as well. Okay, so the goal here, this is a science-oriented view, very much about openness, okay? We want data in order to solve important problems of health. We're all interested in that. We want to do a better job in things like cancer and heart disease, but across the board in healthcare, we want to be able to solve those problems. So what we've done is we've created this integrated translational health research institute. Translational health means we're doing research, but it's got to have quick quick results in terms of the health of the individuals in the community, okay, in our communities. This isn't an abstract problem. It's how can we help bring health care to people in our communities. We have 4 major participants in it, and I'm going to show you a picture of where they are here. So this is the state of Virginia. We're about half the size of Kyrgyzstan, okay, about 100 million square kilometers. We reach, what the little dots are showing you is that we reach across the state, and these are all clinics and telemedicine areas that all of our partners reach to across the state. All told, our reach is about 60% of the population of the state of Virginia with just these 4 partners that we have in this integrated facility. We are nonetheless separated by geography. We have a geography, we don't have high mountains like you do, but we have very rough mountainous area. And this mountainous area, I guess we don't have a pointer, but it's on the western side of the state. It's very much like what you have here. It's rural, it's very separated, it's very hard to reach, there's very poor connectivity. And if we go to our neighboring state, in which case we'll be about the size of Kyrgyzstan, we're talking about regions that are extremely difficult to get to and have some of the poorest health outcomes in our country. And these are the kind of people we've got to reach to. Okay, at the heart of what we're trying to do are what we call the FAIR principles. These are findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Again, we're talking about science here, the science of health. We're trying to reach people in order to solve problems. Data has to be findable. If I'm working in one organization, in one health organization, I've got to find data in another organization where they're doing similar things so we can put them together. That's the interoperability. It's got to be reusable. Science, we've seen result after result. I'll pick on cancer research. Result after result where people say they've produced something and it is nothing. It doesn't have any lift when we actually try and deploy it. We've got to find things that are actually based on true scientific principles and are reusable, okay? Accessible. We've got to be able to get to the data very quickly. Now, I am not a physician. I am a data scientist. And so what they've asked me to do is build the informatics piece of this. Whoops, sorry. And the informatics piece we call the commons. The point I'm making in this slide is a very simple one. We've got the clinical and research data on the right, but when we talk about creating an infrastructure, an informatics infrastructure, it's more than the data. It's educational material. Our previous speaker talked about the educational components of what we're trying to do. That is something we're delivering as well. We're educating people, we're providing access to that educational material. It's material on procedures. What are the procedures that are working? What are the procedures that are not working? All of this information has to be part of what we call our commons. The commons is where the infrastructure, informatics infrastructure that we're creating to do this. Okay, this slide is just to tell you that for structured data, which are the easiest things to do, we've built out an infrastructure that takes the data and puts it into these standards on the right. And we have a joke. The joke is that the lovely thing about standards is that there's so many to choose from. And we've got lots of standards that we can put our data into, okay? We can take our data and put them in whatever standards we need to. And the pictures here just show that we can give out reports in those different standards. I've got a very simple version of the architecture here, and the very simple version of the architecture looks as follows. You've got Mary on the far left, and Mary's got her data. She's a researcher. She's interested in putting her data and making it available for others to use. Say she's working on chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, an example I'll carry through. She makes her data available. There's a data set, there's a name, there's metadata, and then there's the actual data itself. What we create in the resolver in 3 simple steps is, in the architecture, I'm sorry, in 3 simple steps is a resolver at the top. The resolver is what we use in order to point to where Mary's data is. So if you come in you can find Mary's data. If you query, you can find her data. The landing service is the actual technical piece. That's where the metadata are, that take the query from the resolver, convert it into a find against the metadata that is pointing toward her specific data set. And of course, at the bottom, we have the storage, where the data itself is kept. 3 simple things, basis of the architecture that we use. Another piece of the architecture is that we have 4 partner organizations. As I say, we account for roughly 60% of the population in our state. But we don't bring any of those data together from any of those organizations. The data stay where they are. We federate this. So when we do those kinds of things, once you query against Mary's data, you can do analysis against it by sending algorithms across that federated system. And that federated system then allows you to get what you need. Discovery of objects is key to it. Objects in different data types, as I pointed out. And then we have analytical tools. We create pipelines that allow us to take the raw data and convert it into new data, which then gets put into the infrastructure as well. This just shows the basic idea. You can have a project, the project collaborators come together, and then finally at the top is the project summary that's available to everybody. I'm going to go through one quick use case here to show you how this kind of thing can work. So imagine we have these 2 organizations now working on chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. You may know this as emphysema or bronchitis. These are things where people have a hard time breathing. Okay, the question is, these two groups of researchers come together. They go through the process you have to do. They get contracts, they get permission to do the research. All that is done. The data itself, or what's shown by these dots on the bottom, it's protected. We're protecting the data about individuals, but we are making it, putting it in forms that you can do analytics against at those 2 institutions. The people at those institutions can do their analysis, they can work together, they can add collaborators in those institutions to work together. But here's the cool thing. We can also create de-identified data sets. We can take that chronic obstructive pulmonary disease data set, we can de-identify it, put it in a way that we can access it more broadly between the 2 organizations. And in the middle, I show data that's publicly available. For instance, environmental data in the case of this disease. This disease is affected by weather, it's affected by environmental conditions, pollution. We want to bring those data to bear. We can bring them all to bear within that organization, within that major structure of that organization, of that architecture. And we can add people from, as a result of making it open that way, we can add people from a variety of places. We can add people here in Kyrgyzstan and allow them access to the data. That's the kind of thing you can do in order for us to globally meet the challenges of these healthcare problems. Okay, we also provide a very nice open portal that allows people to look at the data, and the portal is an easy to use tool that people can get access to. Okay, so in summary, much more data than we can analyze, considerably more. Complex problems, we've got to go after these problems, not the traditional ways that we've done it with individual researchers, but with team science. Groups of researchers globally looking at these problems together. In order to do that, we need informatics infrastructures that allow the capability to find data that has different diversity, has different characteristics, from video to images to text to raw structural data. Federation of data so that I don't have to move data between organizations. I can leave it where it is. It's federated, and an easy to use front end so that I can give you guys access. In fact, if you want it, you can get access to our portal and you can see the kinds of things that are available. That's the future, I think, of what we need to do in healthcare. So thank you very much.